Right, so the core fundamental, part two, the core fundamental problem in politics, as I see it today, is that even though Nick Clegg has posted some good ideas, and Tories want to get your vote, and New Labour have lost your vote because it still doesn't answer the core fundamental problem that we had and why we invented Parliament in the first place. Now, 800 years ago, we wrote, our lords and masters wrote the Magna Carta because the king of the day was an absolute monarch, and he basically took the piss, and the barons of the day told him, "Oi, pack it in, pack it in." And a result came about was the Magna Carta, and it enshrined the rights and responsibilities of the monarch, and what the monarch, it was a first step into limiting power of the monarch and the nobility and people like that. But at the time, it didn't fix the problem that 97% of the population have today, is that we're disenfranchised, disempowered, and we have no faith in politics. Only 800 years ago, when we wrote the Magna Carta, it was that the peasants at the lowest rung of society, back to that pyramid, were disenfranchised, disempowered, and if you didn't like the way it was working at the moment, the lord of the lands killed you, or punished you and fined you and all that kind of stuff. That fundamental problem still remains. So while Nick Clegg is saying about empowerment and bringing democracy back to the local communities and empowering the local communities to fix the problems, Parliament is still a problem. And like I just said to my neighbour next door, the party political system determines how the parliamentarians vote, in my way of thinking. If the whip says to the majority of Tory MPs that you're going to vote in this way, you're going to vote that way. Because if you don't, you're going to get bullied, you're going to get taken off the committee, you're going to be disenfranchised from the Tory party. And there's been loads of examples in the past where MPs have been disillusioned with their parties and crossed what they call crossed the floor and joined the other party. I mean, 15 years ago it was Labour joining the Tory party, or the Tories joining the Labour party, and so on. So the party political system is the fundamental flaw, as I see it, in modern government. So what the idea I came up with, talking to my neighbour next door, was that the moment you cross the threshold into Parliament, you've got to forget your party political allegiance, because in law there is no, MPs are not in Parliament because they represent the Tories. They're in Parliament because they represent you, the people, right? You, the people, voted them into office, and the office is technically independent. And the idea I come up with is that the moment you cross the threshold of Parliament, because Parliament is like the Vatican and UN territory, it's independent, it is free from, it is a lawfully stated state, as I understand it. It means that what goes in Parliament can't be prosecuted outside of Parliament. So Parliament is the highest law in the land. Again, we could go off into a tangent into Europe and where Europe is fundamentally flawed and so on, but for now. So I'm thinking that maybe we should say to the politicians that the moment you cross the threshold into Parliament and you change from being a member of the public outside of Parliament to a member of Parliament inside Parliament, your party political allegiance should be forgotten. And it ties in with my thoughts for a truly independent Parliament. where every MP is elected on the strength of his constituency. So if 25,000 people voted for me, I'd be there entirely to represent those 25,000 people, and not the 250,000 people that voted for the Tories. So I'm thinking that we need to, because as far as I understand it, there is no legal reason why parties exist. As I understand it, and this is the confusing bit, is that we the people assume that you're electing a Tory MP, or you're electing a BNP, or you're electing a member of Parliament because he's allied to the Tories, or he's allied to the Green Party, or he represents his party, but he doesn't. And this is the fundamental flaw in politics, and it's the issue that Nick Clegg did not address in his Liberal moment, was that he wants you to vote Lib Dems, right? That is his fundamental purpose as leader of the Liberal Democrats. David Cameron's core job is to get you to vote Tory. Same with Gordon Brown and all the other parties, Caroline Lucas with the Greens and so forth. Now, he's not there as leader, he's not in Parliament because he's the leader of the Tories. He's there because he represents his constituency, Hereford or wherever he comes from. And that's the flaw in Parliament, is that we the people assume that we're voting for a Tory MP. We're not. We're voting for a Member of Parliament to represent you, or me, or my mate Dave, or Ethel Blogs down the road. Right? And then I think we have to take the party political system out of Parliament so that Parliament becomes truly representative of the people. And I think we need to amend the Human Rights Act and the Parliament Act and all the other pieces of legislation and all the laws of the land to prove in law that MPs are there to represent the people and no one else. And then the conflict of that will be that, oh, well, I'm a Tory MP. The Tories helped me get elected into Parliament, and I feel obliged to help the Tories stay elected. Until we debate that issue of how independent is Parliament, how independent are the members of Parliament, how independent is the civil service and our local councillors and their civil servants, until we have a long-term established legal opinion, and if we have to write legislation and do all the other things that we need to do to clarify that issue, that we need a proper and fully comprehensive debate on the role of Parliament. We need to reassess our values about Parliament, and we need to assess whether Parliament is doing an overall good job or not. And the Tories haven't looked at this. New Labour most certainly do not want to look at this, because as Nick Clegg explains in his pamphlet, is that New Labour is a centrist, collective, communist, fascist pig government. And they're, like I was saying about the bath, they've pissed all the bathwater down the plug hole, and they've collected all the powers, all the rights and privileges to themselves, and taken it away from us, the people. And then that's the debate that I would like to take forward: independence of Parliament and whether it's doing a good job or not. Anyway, my name is Steven J Humphrey. I'm going to My mate Dave's just arrived, and we'll have a chat and stuff. My name is Steven J Humphrey, independent candidate for Bournemouth East at the next general election when Gordon Brown finally gets off his arse and calls for a general election. Anyway, I might continue this later, but for now, ciao.